Sweden announced this week that it had signed contracts to purchase future coronavirus vaccines for the entire country. If these vaccines are approved as safe, then residents could be vaccinated as soon as December, the government said. But how will the vaccine process roll out in Umeå? With me is Ronny Lestander. He's in charge of vaccination for COVID-19 for Region Västerbotten. Thanks for being here, Ronny.
Thank you.
Ronny, what is the newest that you have about the situation with vaccines in Västerbotten?
We don't know so much yet, but it seems that we could get the first doses in mid-January, I think. It's what it has to be proven for, both by EU and the Swedish association before we can roll it out. But I think the first doses will arrive in Umeå in mid-January.
Okay, so the national government had said that some special risk groups, such as the elderly or people working in hospitals, could receive vaccinations as early as December, but that's not the case here in Umeå or in Västerbotten.
It could be so, but I don't think it's the reality. I think it's going to take till mid-January until we have it. It's also very difficult to get the amount of working the space in the what do you call it, for the ones who's going to administrate the virus, the corona vaccine. It's going to be difficult to get it out in the late December, both at this Christmas and New Year and everything in between.
I see. So if I understand you correctly, what might be hindering the vaccine from coming out in December is the complication of finding people who can administer it over the holidays.
Yes, and also the administration and the transport of the vaccine out in different places.
Right. One of the complications here is that the vaccine needs special conditions. It needs to be transported at a specific temperature.
Yes, the first virus is probably the virus. The first vaccine is probably the vaccine who needs a temperature at -70 degrees. And we have arranged so we can take it and keep it in Umeå, but then it has to be transported out to the places.
Right. So how many vaccines are we talking about? Will there be enough for the whole population of Umeå?
Not in the beginning. In the beginning, it's going to come smaller amounts of vaccine, and we are going to make a very it's only risk groups and people who work in public care who's going to get it from the beginning, and probably we're going to get a couple of thousand doses in January to administrate.
Mm. And then when can we expect a general vaccination in Umeå?
I think probably just before or just after the summer.
Just before or just after the summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be, we're going to need the whole winter and spring to vaccinate the risk groups and the people who work in public healthcare.
Mm. Many of our viewers have said that they're looking forward to getting the vaccine so that they can go back to living a normal life where they don't have to worry about social distancing or having parties or meeting each other at the university to study or working with colleagues. What message do you have for them? What's the relationship between vaccination and going back to normal?
Of course, when we have vaccinated a lot of people, it's going to be more and more like normal. And we don't know yet, but it could go faster than I just said, but we don't know, so we can't promise. But I think we're going to live with a pretty much what do you call it?
Restrictions.
Social restrictions all winter at least.
All winter at least. So we're looking at a time schedule somewhere in the late spring or early summer where we have a general vaccination.
Yes, I think so.
And does a general vaccination mean automatically a lifting of restrictions?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't do that. We don't know yet how this vaccine is working, how long it's working, or anything, and it could be a lot of bump on the way, as you could express it. But as long as the way goes, we're gonna receive more and more. Or less spread of the virus, I think.
Right. And the government actually signed contracts with 4 different companies for vaccines. Is that correct?
So far, yes.
Yeah. Does that mean those are 4 different possible vaccines that might be applied?
Yes.
So how does the region or how does the federal government choose which vaccine to use in any given situation?
We don't choose yet. It's the Folkhälsomyndigheten who decide which vaccine we're going to get out in Västerbotten, for example. And we are going to use the vaccine that we get in the beginning. So far, we don't know if any vaccine is better for elderly or for any kind of other things. We don't know anything about that.
Mm. So in other words, the reason the government signed 4 different contracts was because we're not sure which vaccine will be the most effective.
The reason why they signed as much contract is to get the virus as fast as possible.
Okay.
Get the vaccine as well, not the virus.
Get rid of the virus as fast.
Get rid of the virus as fast as possible. Because we in the beginning, we didn't know which vaccine who would be first, how many they could deliver or anything. So the Swedish government has signed up for a lot of vaccine.
Do you predict any problems that Umeå residents might reject taking the vaccine?
Of course, it's a possible that it's a lot of people who don't want to get vaccine. It's possible. At the beginning, I think maybe 50% will get it, and then when people are starting to trust the vaccine, it's going to be more and more.
Is 50% adequate for herd immunity in order to protect the general population?
It's difficult to talk about herd immunity. We know that it isn't so easy, but 50% is a big thing to get the virus to stop spread.
Okay.
It's helping.
So we don't know statistically exactly how much 50% will have an effect, but we know that it'll have a good effect.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Finally, a lot of people are wondering how much all this costs. As far as I understand, the vaccination is actually free for residents.
Yes. So far.
And how much has Västerbotten, or how much has the federal government paid for Umeå residents to have this vaccine?
I don't know yet. The thing we know is that Folkhälsomyndigheten is going to spread the vaccine all over the country as it comes into Sweden, and we don't need to pay for it.
Yeah. Is it a matter of like 10 crowns per vaccination, or 100 crowns, or 1,000 crowns? Just roughly, how much does it cost?
I can't speculate on that.
So we really don't know.
It's probably a lot of money.
Okay, great. That's perfect. Thank you so much. This was Ronny Lestander. He's in charge of vaccination for COVID-19 in Region Västerbotten. Thanks for being with us on Umeå today, Ronny.
Thank you.